Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Valeria and this is the Off-Road Range. First of all, I'd like to thank all my new subscribers and viewers who came to me after my last video about the container and left comments about my work and tools. Your activity was a wonderful gift for my birthday on the 28th of July. I'm grateful for your advice, which I will take into account when repairing the container, and later I will post a video with the restored container. And now a little about me and my work. I have the Off-Road Range. 10,000 square meters of beautiful clean land with fresh air near the forest. In a year and a half of work, I built a box of a house since I had nowhere to live. Recently I bought a sea container for storing tools and materials. And now I'm gradually clearing the land of unnecessary, old, poisonous trees. By the way, I also have a 30-year-old Jeep, which you can see in my videos sometimes. I adore it, and it has been my best assistant in my work for a year and a half. And its American engine and Japanese transmission are among the best in the world. But its condition is very sad, and most likely this fall it will go into storage until I will be able to start its full repair and modernization. It will be very difficult for me to survive without it, and I will be grateful to you for your support, including financial. By the way, I don't have a place to store the Jeep yet, and its construction also requires serious investments. If you would like to participate in the process of restoring and modernizing my car, then subscribe to my Patreon to a regular donation of $20 per month. Later I will add all the subscribers to the exclusive chat. You can also make one-time donations, commenting that these donations are for the car. My land looks like this. Here is the box of my house, where there is no floor, bathroom and furniture yet. Here is the camp, where I lived for 8 months in a tent in the fall and winter before building the house box. And here is the forest thicket I'll have to get rid of. Some trees need to be cut down, some to be looked after. I have been clearing the land of trees for a year and a half, and there is logic and consistency in my actions. First, I cut down the area for building a house. There was also a solid forest here. Then I cut down the largest, sick and dangerous old and partially rotten trees, so that they wouldn't fall on my head and my property, wouldn't take sap from other trees, wouldn't shade other trees, and so that they wouldn't attract ants. Today I'm starting to cut down this area of the forest. I haven't been to these places yet and haven't conducted a thorough study of this area. I started cutting down this part because there is a poisonous forest here. All parts of these trees are poisonous. Leaves, branches, roots, and of course fruits. In the fall, new fruits will ripen, and the trees will give hundreds of thousands of seeds, and thousands of new trees will grow from them. Therefore, I need to cut down as many trees as possible before the fruits ripen. I have already cut down about 2,000 trees without video. They are thin, young and quickly chopped with an axe. But then I started to run into obstacles. Firstly, there are piles of garbage, like concrete slabs or some other building material and pieces of rocks, and I have no idea how long it has been here and why. Secondly, there is just an old garbage dump. Plastic, glass, tin cans, and so on. This means that I cannot work freely everywhere. And the harder thing that stopped me from cutting down was an old apple tree my mycelium once grew on. But I do not only cut down trees, I also plant them. For a subscription to my Patreon for $10 a month, I will plant a tree and name it in your honor. I will be glad to have new participants in this charity event. This tree has been lying here for probably more than 2 decades, but not only has it not rotted, it has become very dense, hard and heavy. I spent 2 weeks thawing the apple tree in pots to at least pull it apart and free up space for further work. But there is no work without problems and adventures. That day, from the very beginning of the work, it seemed to me that the chainsaw was working worse, that it was sawing worse than usual, and there was a strange ringing sound in its work. But I refer to the fact that the tree is dense and sawing takes a lot of time. This video is sped up 1,000 times, because later, when watching the video, it turned out that I was sawing for 4 minutes, while the normal time would have been less than a minute, that is 5-6 times faster. At some point I stopped, because the saw was working suspiciously, but then I continued my work. However, later I realized that the saw was no longer sawing. I stopped and pulled it out of the tree trunk. What you are watching in the video, I didn't see at that time. From my angle, I didn't see that the saw was broken. I was confused, worried and upset at the same time. But I didn't know what was wrong with it, except that I thought that the chain had come off. Someone might notice that the bar was put on upside down. In fact, this doesn't affect the operation and use, so the upside down bar couldn't have affected the breakdown in any way. Well, upon further disassembly, it turned out that during operation, one of the bolts holding the protective cover had come loose and flown away, and I went to look for it. I was very lucky that it didn't fly far away and didn't get buried in the ground or wood shavings. I might even have such a bolt somewhere in my toolbox, but it's an original part with a certain metal strength, and besides, it's made of stainless steel. So, for you 5 seconds have passed, and for me, a week. What happened to the saw? At the service center, they explained to me that the rim sprocket had broken in the saw. By the way, I never found the other half. This is one of the parts of the saw clutch, and all the spots I needed to adjust the operation when changing the chain speed and changing the centrifugal force. This part is a consumable, that is, it wears out and needs to be replaced periodically. Unfortunately, I didn't know about this, and when cleaning the saw or replacing the bar or chain, I couldn't pay attention to the degree of wear of the rim sprocket. As a result, as it wore out, it broke into 2 parts, the bolt on the protective cover unscrewed from the vibration, the cover itself came off the clutch, and as a result, the rim sprocket flew out along the bar and tore off the chain. What can I say? Firstly, I was very lucky that at that time the saw was deep in the tree, because at the moment the rim sprocket broke, I wouldn't have held the saw, and with 99% probability I would have injured myself. But secondly, literally a month before that, I gave the saw for diagnostics, and for some reason, no one told me that it was time to replace some parts. Fortunately, everything went without injuries and without the clutch itself breaking. But I don't even know whose fault it was for the untimely replacement of the part. Mine, as the person who didn't know about these consumables, or the service that didn't report the wear of the rim sprocket. What do you think? In the end, the saw continued to work properly, and the service explained me how to monitor the condition of the clutch pads. However, the rim sprocket brake wasn't covered by the warranty, and I don't know whether I should have paid for the replacement or not. As far as I know, each manufacturer, and especially such a well-known brand as Husqvarna, has a service life for each spare part, and I think that this spare part should also have specified hours of operation before the replacement. However, I was told that the rim sprocket doesn't have a service life. So in this case, I have a question about how the manufacturer monitors the quality of its spare parts and by what standard it manufactures them if it doesn't have parameters for service life. Maybe you know the answer to this question. Or maybe the service deceived me so as not to do the work for free under warranty. As for working in a poisonous forest, cutting down dangerous trees, then all the time was spent repairing the saw, sawing old wood, and removing these heavy logs to the place of the woodshed. I have been asked questions about why I saw one tree for such a long time, and whether there are problems with the chain, or the clutch, or the power, or the supply of oil for lubricating the saw, and so on. No, the cutting speed also depends on the density of the tree. Fruit trees are generally dense, and old fallen ones are even more so. So their sawing takes quite a long time, and the saw requires more frequent maintenance. That is why 80% of the forest continues to grow today. By the time this video is released, the poisonous fruits are 90% ripe, and even if I cut down these trees now, the seeds will still ripen and start growing. But in any case, the fight against this forest will take several more years, since when adult trees are cut down and space is freed up, the seeds that were in the ground before begin to germinate. Today I already have other tasks ahead of me, and what they are, you will see in the following videos. Wish me fewer breakdowns and problems with tools, and also support me with likes and subscriptions. And I wish you all the best and take care of yourself. It was Valeria, the Off-Road Ranch. See you soon.